What is going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today I'm going to be bringing back probably what I'm most known for by my longtime viewers, a team that I made using Unkillable and Revive on Death with Abraxas. It was a ton of fun to make. This was just after the Unkillable nerfs, where they tried to make it almost impossible, I say almost for a good reason, to one key Ultra Nightmare, and I ended up spending a ton of gems, I think around 7,000, to make this really cool team. And today I'm going to be showing you Fenax in this team, how much damage he can do. But first, as always, let's give credit where credit is due. For those of you who don't know Madcapper, he is a really cool guy. He streams, he's on YouTube, really good personality, really friendly too. If you ever have advice, definitely check him out. So he made this video over a week ago, and he has this really cool series going on where it's I built them so you don't have to, so you can really see who shines and who doesn't shine. He did this on Fenax. I've already watched it twice now, and this is what inspired me to make this video, to really push this champion to its potential, to see what I could do with it with the gear that I have. Definitely go over and subscribe if you like his content. I will be keeping a much closer eye on the things he does, because obviously he's testing out these champions that no one could really think of before. Now obviously people have used Fenax in the past, but to this extent, probably not. Now let's get into the video, and I'm going to start this run here. As you can see, I am using Skull Crusher, Power. They are both on a 4-3 ratio, so Skull Crusher is always going to take the stun. He's always going to get stunned, but since he goes 4 times to the clan bosses 3 times, he's going to override that stun penalty on his Unkillable, and he's always going to be the stun target because counterattack is on the rest of these champions. We also have Fenix here. We have Abraxas, who is another essential part of this team composition, where you're going to see it not so much in these early rounds here, but you're going to see it in the later rounds, where I actually have him built so fast that he outspeeds Tower's block damage buff. He gets killed and he revives based on his passive, and he is on a 5-3 or 4-3 rotation. I don't remember specifically, since that video was such a long time ago, but it was a ton of fun to build. Now that I have it active, what I want you guys to do, before I continue with showing what Fenax can do, is if there's any other champions you guys want me to test out in Ultra Nightmare, now is the time. I have this team built. I can test any champion you guys want with a counterattack, without a counterattack. So definitely leave a comment below on any type of champion you guys want to see. Obviously we are getting some rework patch coming up soon, so a lot of things are subject to change, so keep that in mind when requesting a champion, because I'm not going to have this composition built for too long, since it's extremely hard to pull off with gear. But definitely leave a comment on who you want to see in a team composition like this. This is probably one of the best, if not the best, unkillable team you could possibly build that isn't a 2-to-1 speed ratio. So it's the perfect comp for testing any single champion you can think of. If you have a feeling a champion hits hard, definitely let me know. Do some testing on your own, confirm that they do hit hard, and I will definitely plug them into this and make an awesome video on it for you, obviously giving you the shout out as well. As we can see here, once again, Towers on 4-3, Skull Crusher's on 4-3, making sure both AoEs are protected with block damage, and the stun is always on Skull Crusher with that Unkillable buff. As mentioned before, Abraxas is going to die, revive himself with this passive, and get an extra turn on top of that, since he always gets a turn after he revives. And the champion we're going to be focused on here is in fact Fenax, who is all the way on the left here. So let's see what he does. Okay, that was not his A1, but he hit for 231,000 damage, a lot of damage for sure. And let's see if we can run through. Okay, so there was his A1, 123,000 plus some times 2. So I think we're looking at, if masteries proc and they prove to be, I guess, good luck here, we're looking at max potential 300,000 damage per A1, which is definitely a lot. It definitely doesn't compare to someone like Lord Shazar, who does 600,000 damage per A1, or Turvold, who can do just over 300,000 on that A1 ability. But for an epic, he's still definitely a good choice. Now really quickly looking to the left of the screen, what his A1 does: attacks one enemy, places an extra hit if the target has any debuffs. Enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived. So there's definitely some use here outside of clan boss. The problem with Fenax is he's extremely difficult to build. So I wouldn't go around and say I'm going to recommend this for everyone to start using, because you're going to be definitely disappointed in how much gear it actually takes to incorporate him into all of the teams you have. Now, he can be good in Ice Golem. As always, this is his A1. He does have an A2 and an A3, so to make sure it's timed perfectly for that Ice Golem, you're going to want to do it on manual to make it, I guess, more consistent, and no one really likes manual. This is an auto game. Everyone knows that, so that's my just basic input on Fenax for what his A1 does. And as far as his extra hit, this is something like Elaine, where he can actually proc War Master twice. Any champion can who has this tooltip that says extra hit. A perfect example of someone who can do this well is Lordly Legionary, who is a login reward. As mentioned already, Elaine can also do this, so this increases not only his base damage, but also the amount of mastery damage that Fenax can actually provide. So what I would have to say after testing this guy for a little bit is the only real use you're going to have as far as like completely endgame use all the time is definitely going to be an unkillable composition, where you can gear him with pure damage, not really worry about any type of survivability or speed. There is an argument to be made that you can use him in the arena. However, once again, you're going to have to be building enough speed to not get cut off, and that's going to decrease the amount of damage you can actually build on this guy. And while he does hit hard, one of his main benefits is hitting twice. And any champion with a block debuff like a Sifi, it's going to be difficult to make this use. So this is a really niche champion for anywhere outside of Unkillable. So if you are looking for this guy to be your saving grace, he's not going to be that champion. But if you have an Unkillable team, you're struggling to find that filler champion to do damage after someone like a Venus, a Razin who has your defense down and weaken, you can definitely use this guy, build him full damage, and pretty much watch him do incredible damage in this team composition. So one thing I think we're going to see very soon is Brackus doing his revive setup. So let's just focus on that really quickly here. Turn 22, which means this is going to happen now. Okay, so Brackus just burned through. He is going to die. His passive makes him revive, and he's going to get that extra turn, which is really going to be the difference going forward in making sure he works properly. Now, just in case you guys are curious, let's go over Fenix's A2. Attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a block buffs debuff for 2 turns. Places a block cooldown debuff for 1 turn if this skill does not place a block buffs. So this also hits hard, but now we get into the issue of stacking accuracy, which probably is going to be suboptimal if you're trying to build them for full damage. Anytime you have to stack accuracy, you're taking a lot away from the damage capabilities of the champions. However, this isn't AoE, so you can definitely get some utility out of him. He is Spirit Affinity, so you have to be careful where you use him. Dragon's obviously not going to be a choice. Ice Golem and Fire Knight, those are definitely possibilities for him. However, there are definitely better champions you can use at your disposal. Moving on to Fenix A3 ability, we have So Feebleness. Attacks one enemy, has a 60% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense and a 30% decreased speed buff for 2 turns. So if you did want to use him in clan boss, you don't have a defense down. Not that it's going to be that reliable, since it takes a ton of books for Fenax on top of things which I didn't already cover. But this is definitely an option for you if you wanted to build some accuracy. Obviously, decreased speed isn't going to land in the clan boss, so it's not something you have to worry about. However, the debuffs from the A2 can definitely clog up some space on your clan boss team, which is why I'm saying try not to build accuracy, build them for full damage, only use them in an unkillable team. And since you would have to pretty much manual this type of team or run him in a 2-to-1 ratio unkillable team to actually 1 key, he's pretty much mid-tier for any type of unkillable team, since his max capability for most people is going to be a 2 key, and it's extremely easy to build a 2 key with kind of minimal gear depending on which type of unkillable composition you are actually going to run. But overall, this was a ton of fun to build on stream. It's really cool to see an epic champion doing pretty good damage, so that's another thing to focus on here. Ideally, I would have wanted to build my Dracomorph with more damage. However, I have gear held up on other champions, so I couldn't do that for this run. But we are going to see some value where he gets rather close to almost equaling out the same amount of damage that Dracomorph does in fact do here. Obviously, as mentioned, if I did manual this run completely and only use Fenix's A1 ability. As you can see here, I am going to toggle off auto, hit that A1 ability just to see a better comparison here. I didn't do it the whole time, I considered it, but as we just mentioned, nobody likes the manual, so if you wanted to just auto this champion, his damage is going to be much lower than the recap you're about to see on the screen here. So those are my basic thoughts on Fenax. If you have him, if you're looking for that missing link in your Unkillable team, definitely give him a shot. I am going to go over the gear in case you missed my first video and you want to see kind of how I geared these champions. One thing that's definitely lacking in this composition and where Fenax isn't doing the best job is usually in the original team where I did 73 million damage with this team composition, I use Septimus. As we know, Septimus has an attack aura, which makes everyone's damage so much better. Tower, Dracomorph, and Brachus, all of their damage is much higher in that run compared to the run you're about to see here, which makes it possible for them to hit that 1 key mark on full auto. So now that I went over all of that, let's skip right ahead to that recap screen and go over the type of damage we're looking at here. Alright, so this is going to be the wipe round. Let's see. So 65 million damage, awesome to see in 50 turns. We have Roshcard at 5.6 million damage, Brachus at 14.2 million, Fenax at 20.4 with some manual, Skullcrusher at 3.9 million, and Dracomorph at 21 million damage. So Fenax is rather close to Dracomorph, which is awesome to see. This was a 12-minute run. Like I said, I did toggle off to manual Fenax's A1 a bit to kind of bump this damage up. When it's full auto, that's what you saw in the thumbnail where it did 62 million damage. So this is Fenax here. What do you guys think of him? As mentioned before, if you're going to try and use him outside of an unkillable team, you have to be careful with what you expect because he's not that easy to build and is definitely going to require a lot of endgame gear to really use him to your potential. Alright, so now that we went over that, let's go over the gear that I did give Fenax. We have 29,000 health, 5.3 thousand attack, 191 speed, 100% crit rate, 260 crit damage. As far as mastery goes, he has a typical unkillable setup with War Master and the chance to counterattack there. He is fully booked, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Skullcrusher here, he doesn't have amazing stats. He has 3,600 defense, 243 speed, 103 crit rate, 212 crit damage, 45,000 health. And the key to making Skullcrusher work in a team composition like this is giving him, if possible, one immortal set so he is healing and making sure that no one else is taking the stun. If his health drops to, I believe it's less than 5%, the clan boss is actually going to pick up that he has the unkillable debuff on him, and that's going to override the other champions having counterattack on them. So he's going to stun the wrong champion and you are going to wipe in the following turns after that. As far as masteries, once again, he's actually using lasting gifts to increase that chance of giving everyone the counterattack buff since they are burning through it rather quick, and he's using it in a suboptimal spot, being right before that stun. Moving on to Dracomorph, this is the champion that I wish I could have geared better. He has just under 5,000 attack, 194 speed, 255 crit damage, which is that low part, 263 accuracy, 100% crit rate, and the rest of the stats do not matter at all. As far as his masteries go, he is in the offense and support tree with War Master, with the opportunity to extend the debuffs that he applies onto the clan boss. So now that we covered Draco, let's go to the next champion, which is in fact Tower. Tower has 3.3 thousand attack, 100% crit rate, 235 crit damage, 241 speed, and he does have 42,000 health as his A2 is based on health. As far as mastery goes, he is also using the War Master as well as the counterattack on a stun, since the stun is always being applied. Now going to the final champion, who's an absolute monster, and he really shines with an attack aura. Not having it, I compared both of the screenshots of my original team compared to this one, and the damage Brachus did was night and day, even though I have him in better gear now than I did many months ago when I made this original team. So that attack aura, especially with Brachus's base attack, it was really hard for me to do, but I wanted to show you guys Fenax, so we did that. Here we can see we have Giant Slayer as well as the chance to counterattack. As far as his total stats go, he's at 257 speed, allowing him to die and revive based on his passive and cycle enough cooldowns in between all of the buffs that are already being given out to make this team possible. So he has 4,300 attack, 243% crit damage, 100 crit rate, and the rest doesn't matter. It is unfortunate if he does in fact land the weaken, because he can make it so Draco's AI sees that there's a debuff on it and Draco won't use that defense down, which is much more beneficial than a weaken on its own. Those are the 5 champions for this evening. Let me know what you guys think. Once again, another huge shout out to Mad Capper for bringing this to my attention. This was a ton of fun. Let me know what champions you guys want to see. I want to see the comments full of awesome champions, preferably some that I haven't covered already, so make sure you're looking through the rest of my YouTube videos and making sure that I haven't covered them in any of my previous ones. I'm really looking forward to what you guys can throw at me, since I do have this awesome team built, and maybe you guys are going to give me a suggestion that can outperform Fenax. Keep one thing in mind: if you are going to pick a champion, try to base it around an aura. That would be really cool and would give me a much better shot at hitting that 1 key without a 2-to-1 speed ratio. Don't forget, if you like this content, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads, and I will see you all in the next video.